All the roads are windy.
Welcome back to the show, Amy. Really stoked to talk today.
Thank you so much for having me back, Natalie. I'm excited to continue our conversation.
Yeah, and like when we were talking about land, spirits, and communicating with nature the other day, just in our own private conversation, I wish we had hit record. So I'm really glad that we could kind of bring that up again because we went to some fun places. So if for anyone who's listening and didn't get to catch the Amy Dempster episode a few weeks ago, we get into so much stuff, so much cool stuff like portals, and Amy shares her lineages and all that. So all those classics are in that episode, and we're just going to dive right in today. So we are here to talk about something that you brought up that I think is so it just like speaks to our people so much is the experience of where you maybe feel drawn to a place, a beautiful place in nature, or maybe even a city or town. You know, it doesn't have to be in nature, but you feel drawn to a place and you get there and you want to have this mystical experience, but you don't really know what to do once you're there. So can you just kind of like, what is your insight on this?
Yeah, and it's so interesting because, I live in a place that is, popular for people to come and visit. Millions of people every year come to Glacier National Park. And obviously I like visiting, national parks and other places like that as well. But it's been more, kind of in my consciousness in just being in places like this and seeing how people engage with it. And I've just noticed that I think people, they're really wanting to have these special experiences in nature, but they're not sure how to make it happen, for lack of a better term. Not that we can always, make things happen on cue, but, I'll see people who have driven, a long, bumpy dirt road to get to a beautiful spot way, off the beaten path, and they hop out and take 2 pictures on their phone and they hop back in their car and leave. I'm like you didn't even bring lunch. Like, you don't want to just sit by the lake for a little bit and enjoy. And, obviously who knows what kind of time constraints or other things are happening in people's lives, but just really kind of seeing how much nature is drawing us and pulling us, by these really record-setting numbers of visitations that places like our national parks and even state parks are having. But the lack of awareness in a lot of cases as to what to do when you're there other than just go on a hike. And so, I think in our conversation, we were just talking a little bit more about having a more intentional visit and being more conscious and even planning ahead for some of these visits. And it's been my experience that when you do that and when you engage with the spirits of the land or the nature spirits of the place, your experience is totally different because they know what you are hoping to have, or what kind of experience you're hoping to have. And, our intention is just so important in everything that we do, but certainly when we're wanting to engage with nature in this way. And so just even spending, a few minutes the night before or the morning of you're going to go to a place and closing your eyes and even just picturing what you think that place looks like or what you're going to see when you get there. And just saying, I'm coming to visit today. Is there anything that you want me to know or anything that you want me to bring? Because sometimes, that's when I get the message of, ooh, bring this particular crystal, or, oh, can you bring that special water that you have from that spring, or, whatever the message is. And sometimes it's like, no, just show up, just bring yourself. But it's really just a much more engaging and an intentional process when you do that. And then, taking the time when you get out of your car to, again, just take a few moments, feel into the energy. What does it feel like there? Do you feel welcome? Are there any energies that are feeling, you called, like come down this trail to the left or come to the right, or take a few minutes before you come into this place, just all of these different things. And I find that in just setting the stage and setting your intentions and setting your expectations in that way, it'll be a completely different experience than if you just went to this place and, took a quick walk through it, or even a long walk, but that the spirits are really engaged now of like, ooh, she knows that we're here and we know that she's here, and now we can have this whole experience together.
And you're making me think of like one thing I love to do is even just silently from my head in my mind, introduce myself, and my husband will be like, hey, I'm Natalie. This is John. We're here to appreciate your beauty, to move our bodies. I welcome the benevolent spirits of this land to, connect. And like, if you should be so willing, perhaps help us clear our energy fields as we are here, like just having those little conversations, like you would talk to a person almost, just having those conversations.
Yeah, I love that so much. Just really the acknowledgement that there are many energies in this place other than just the other humans that are there, and maybe the animals, and that we're willing to engage with them. It completely changes the experience, I find.
Well, cool. Do you have, you mentioned like maybe a place might like you to bring a crystal or some water or something. Do you have a story or example of your own experience relating with the land spirits in this way?
Oh my gosh, so many, so many. Yeah, well, I have this one place that I've shared about many, many times, but it's maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes from my house. It's pretty close. And it is an old growth forest that was not logged when pretty much everything else in this area was logged. It's I'm the only one who is ever there. It's the and in some ways I know it's the spirits kind of protecting the energy when I am there, and not disturbing, because sometimes I will hear somebody. It's a small area. Sometimes I'll hear a car pull in and car doors shut and people getting out, and then all of a sudden they'll all get back in their car and leave.
Hey, I just want to say I have experienced this too, where like if I'm working with the spirits of the land, or in a little ritual or something, I'd say the ocean here and like the beach, and it's maybe very there's not a ton of room, because we have these huge cliffs, and I'll like walk down to the beach and everyone will be walking back up, like they'll all be leaving the beach, and then I'll do my thing, and then when I'm done people start coming down to the beach. I'm like, wow, y'all spirits really nailed it, like thanks for creating that space. Like I have no control over this, but it's something I've noticed as well, so I love that you spoke of that.
Yeah, it's really magical when it happens, and I've been there so many times at this point. Like it doesn't make sense that there wouldn't at some point be other people that would come. And there's other places where I work, and it's I'm totally surrounded by people, and in some cases I will know that is specific, because I'll have like a crystal grid set up and be doing some things, and all of a sudden it's like, it usually starts with children, right? The kids can feel it. Kids will come closer to me, and then other people will come. And that's when I know like, oh, there is something for everyone who's here that's been created with the energy of the land and the crystals and whatever else is going on. And so it's really an offering to the community and whoever else is there. But this place in particular is always very quiet when I am there. And, I always like to say, like, have your little bag of things that you always bring with you, or to make yourself comfortable. I have this big, it's a waterproof picnic blanket, and it folds all the way up and kind of Velcros shut, and it has a shoulder strap. And so it's nice because I don't have to worry about like, what if it's muddy? What if there's snow on the ground? What if it's wet? Whatever. I can just put the picnic blanket down and not worry that I'm going to be uncomfortable or anything else. And so it helps when you're going to be out somewhere that you're not sure, that you have things to make yourself feel comfortable. And so I laugh sometimes. I'm like, I don't know what I look like to people when I've got my backpack full of crystals and a singing bowl and my picnic blanket over my shoulder, like all these things that I'm carrying around. But yeah, I just load everything up, and it's different every time. Sometimes I'm told, again, to bring like specific crystals. And then when I'm out there, they'll just say, oh, just set them on the ground. Like they're going to do their own thing. They want me to help them get them out there. Sometimes they'll show me something specific. I have a small amethyst tower that I work with on a regular basis that works with the grids quite a bit. And I took it out there one time, and the spirits there showed me really how to move energy through my heart with toning and into the amethyst. And so really kind of like sharing that energy almost in a very like figure 8 pattern from my heart to the crystal and back, and really kind of sharing energy in that way. So it's, you never really know what's going to happen. And sometimes you go out there and there's just, no more instructions, right? They just needed to get you there. And then that energy exchange is just going to happen naturally. But usually what I do is bring my notebook, because I like to channel through writing especially. And so I will walk around a place a little bit and just kind of feel into the energy. And usually it kind of becomes clear, like there's a specific spot that I should sit or go to. And I'll put my picnic blanket out, which is also a good signal if there are other people around, like, oh, I've set a sacred space, right? Like this is this is my energy field. And I'll really just kind of intuitively follow any messages that I'm getting. So put these crystals here, or take them to the water, or play your singing bowl. I have a little brass singing bowl that is perfect because it's not heavy. It fits in my backpack. It's not easily damaged like, crystal one would be. And that little bowl has gone everywhere with me. And it's like, when I play it, it really is, it's like everyone stands up and stops like at attention, right? Like all the trees are like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do. And so even having something like that is really helpful to kind of alert everybody. Like, I'm here and I want to engage with you in a different way. I also suggest, that you can have a specific item that is representative of your energy field, whatever that means to you. Like, it could be a crystal, it could be, a particular plant leaf or a flower or, whatever. But I have actually a funny story from the place is called Krause Basin that I go to on a regular basis. And I usually take a piece of selenite with me, and there's a little stump right when you walk on the trail. And because there's never anybody there, I just set the selenite there and then I move along. So it's like a signal just to be like, I'm here, I'm ready to work. This is my energy. And so for like a month, this was maybe 2 summers ago, I put the selenite there and I pick it back up on my way out. And then towards the end of the month, I was getting a message from the spirits kind of like, we're done with this particular work with you here. It's starting to get busier. It was like midsummer time. Like, we'll connect with you in other places. You don't have to come here to connect with us. And I was like, but I like coming here. I'm going to keep coming here anyway. And when I came out from that visit, the selenite was gone from the stump. And nobody had been there and nothing, there was I looked all around on the stump, on the ground thinking like maybe a squirrel tried to carry it off or something. Like, I have no idea where it went, but I had to laugh because I was like, yeah, they're letting me know, like, we're done here now. You can come visit, but it's not for this. We're done.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. So when you're talking about this of like, you're in these places and you're speaking with the spirits of the land, what does that look like inside of you? Because I think especially want to talk about this because I see so many people who are doubtful of whether what they're hearing is a nature spirit or are they making it up? It sounds like them in their own head, or like, I don't know. So can you kind of like elucidate how someone might recognize that they are talking or communicating with the land spirit, and even maybe share what that looks like for you?
Yeah. And I would say, like, if you're feeling that way, you're not alone. Everybody pretty much feels that way, right? Like, and I do things where I'm just like, am I making this up? And then something will happen, or I'll get a message. I'm like, I couldn't in my wildest dreams have made that up, right? Like, it has to be a message. And so it's not unusual to wonder if you're making it up or if you're actually getting the information right, because it comes to us in very subtle ways, and it comes through, at least in my experience, but from most people that I've talked to, it's similar in that it's coming through many different energetic fields simultaneously. So there might be some pictures in your head, but there might not be. And there might be messages in your head, that you can hear, and there might not be, right? It's like all of these things. But especially for those of us who are empaths, we pick up the energy in our bodies. And so we, feel a restriction in our heart, or we feel a little nauseous, or, a lot of times when I'm first tuning into the energy of a piece of land to do a reading, before I even think I'm getting information, I'll notice like, oh my gosh, I'm suddenly so tired and I'm yawning a bunch, or I feel really antsy and agitated and I have to get up and walk around, and it's easy for me even to discount that because I just think like, oh, I haven't even started yet. But really, like, if I think about it, I wasn't picking any of that up 5 minutes before. It was just as soon as I tapped into the energy of that place, I can feel that energy. And so those are the things that are really easy to blow off because we just think like, oh, I just got really tired all of a sudden.
I want to quick second that because it was a huge moment for me a few years ago when I realized that sometimes I get like this sort of like agitation, and I'm not like angry. I just feel like this increase in energy in me, and it's like almost bouncing around and agitated. And when I learned to recognize that is something wanting to come through, and if I just pull out my journal or hit record on a voice memo, then it's just like boom, and it's like the channel wants to be open, So I love that you brought that up, and I just wanted to kind of like articulate that and clarify that for just a heck yeah.
Totally. And I think we all have to kind of learn what our own signals are.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And like my feet are really, really sensitive, but it took me years to figure out that if I'm walking around somewhere and suddenly I have this like, deep kind of, it's almost like a pain in the arches of my feet. Like, oh, there's something really energetically active here, and I'm picking it up through my feet. And so everybody's different. And that's where it really just the experimentation and practice comes in, because the more you do it, the more you can start being like, oh, I always hear this message in my left ear and so that's an actual message. And so when I sit down to actually work, and a lot of people like to, channel through their voice, which that's great because you just can have like your voice recorder on your phone, and when it wants to come through, you turn it on. I do that now and again. I can feel it, but it's really like it comes through in writing really strong for me. And so sometimes I'll write, if I have a particular question I want to ask or something, or again, like a particular property I'm tuning into, I'll put the address down or I'll write the question. But usually I just put the date at the top of the page, and maybe if I'm in a particular location, where I am. And then I just sit and really kind of just wait. And sometimes it takes a few minutes for the energy to start flowing or for a particular spirit to step forward. And I might sit there with my eyes closed or open, kind of depending on what's happening in my environment. And it will start coming in a way oftentimes that I do just think like, this is me saying this because I think this is what I want the answer to be, or I think this is, whatever is kind of how it feels when it gets going. And then usually it'll really start flowing a lot more and more information will come through. And again, for me, it's multiple things, and it'll be a whole conversation that's happening in my head. So it might start with a feeling in my body, and then I say in my head, like, what is this? I don't know what this is. Can you show it to me in a different way? Because I don't understand. And so then maybe I'll get a few words, or I'll get a sentence, or, an image of a particular spirit that is wanting to speak with me, or, all of these different ways that it can come through. And sometimes it is really funny. I always think like when I do readings, I say, oh, I just do them by myself because otherwise you'd just be staring at me having a conversation in my head, which is really weird and awkward for me to be like, here's what's happening right now. But it really is like sometimes I'm kind of going back and forth, with a particular spirit or particular information. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I get it. I understand now, and it's just like they have given me enough chunks and pieces to make it make sense. But I have also heard somebody say, like, if you think you're not getting anything, make up a story. Just make it up, whatever it is. Because 9 times out of 10, the story that you're making up in your head is actually you tapping into the energy. Like you are pulling from that energy field. And so it's okay if you think you're making it up. And I go back and look at things all the time in my notebook that I'm like, I don't totally remember that, but that was actually really that was a really deep insight, And so it may not feel in that exact moment that it's all that remarkable, but usually there is really potent energy around you and definitely messages that are coming through.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love that image of like pulling from that energy. I feel like that to me, that really articulates what relationship looks like it with the spirit world. And then of course giving back as well, reciprocity and offerings and, you know, support as well in that way. But just, yeah, thanks for illuminating that. Something around this is, and part of why we wanted to talk today too, because, you know, you're doing a workshop with us where we're going to get into like connecting with nature spirits and land healing and all this stuff, which is, you know, like an introductory level. If people want to go deeper, you can take them deeper, but we're gonna kind of like open that door for people and give them some foundation. And I know we talked about a bunch of like land healing stuff too in our other episodes. So if this is really piquing anyone's interest, definitely go listen to that other episode like now. Download it and check it out because we get into like all kinds of stuff there. But you know, what ways are we as humans, and again, I think we might be touching into some stuff that was in the other episode, but I think it's worth kind of bringing up again. How are we instrumental or agents of healing with the land?
Yeah, you know, it's hard for us to think about it sometimes in our energy field ways because we don't always see it in the same way, right? So we think about our physical bodies and what we're doing with our physical bodies in a particular location. But really, we have this whole field around us of energy and sacred geometry and codes and wisdom and knowledge that's all held within our field. And so when we go out onto the land or go to a particular place, there's an instant exchange of all of that. You know, the land sees us and recognizes us, and we, from an energy level, see and recognize what's there. We exchange codes, we share information. You know, healing happens in both directions. It's really remarkable what's happening. And meanwhile, in our human minds, we're just like, well, nothing's happening, right? Like, I just showed up and nothing happened. And I think that's really common, you know, just like thinking I'm not getting anything. And I mean, I am as, you know, bad as anybody else about going out and wanting to be like, oh, tell me all the things, right? Show me the crystal grid you want me to set up. And sometimes I'm just like, just, you know, chill out, sit on the park bench, lay in the sunshine, whatever. And to a certain extent, like that's probably healing for me. They know that that's what I need in that moment. And, you know, whatever is needed from me is being exchanged without me needing to do a lot of work. And so, you know, sometimes there are things that are like, go here, do this, move this around. But a lot of times it really is just a natural exchange. And so the fact that we are incarnated, we are in a body, we are in this dense physical state that is the earth plane, we have the ability to really help to anchor in a lot of healing energy that can't happen on the spirit level or can't happen in the same way. And so because we're physical beings and they're not. Exactly. They can do things that take effect in their plane, in their realm. But then when a human comes along and says, you know, what can we do together? It becomes a partnership. And it's not just us showing up and saying, you know, hey, I'm here to heal some, you know, issues that are going on. It's more a matter of saying, hey, there hasn't been a human for a long time that's been, you know, in partnership and connection with these spirits and with this land. And when they have the opportunity to do that, you know, with a human, it's like we're picking up, you know, the other end of the rope, and the rope's stretching from this plane over to that plane. And we do our part and they do their part. And suddenly we actually see physical change on this plane. And, you know, I have heard it time and time and time again from people after readings, you know, that they're like, oh my gosh, you know, not only does the energy feel better, but this whole field of wildflowers suddenly bloomed that's never been there before in that, you know, that particular area. Or, you know, just all kinds of different things that can happen on the physical plane that reflect the energetic work that's done. And, you know, I think if you start looking at kind of like how the universe is formed or created, right, from a vibration and frequency level, what we're doing when we're doing energy work with the land, but it's the same thing that happens, right, when we do energy work on ourselves or with somebody else, is that we're actually going into, it's like the base code of that location. And we're able to, we along with the spirits are like performing surgery on, the code of that location. And so it's at a vibration and a frequency level, but then that vibrates up to the physical level. And that's when you see physical changes. And so it's really remarkable to me, just like how many pieces are involved and how important and integral we as humans are and how needed we are and how much we've been missing from this landscape in a lot of cases.
It's so cool. And just something about how you said this partnership really just rang deep in me of feeling like, perhaps I just felt like I just like had an image of my own ancient ancestors who perhaps were working with nature spirits in the land in some way. I mean, I have no way to prove that or anything, but just seeing like these partnerships have been cut off like intentionally and systemically for thousands of years. And what for so long that we don't even know what we don't know about it. So it's like, we're just kind of like opening up that door again and exploring like, what is this partnership and what can it look like and what can we co-create and heal together, and how can that change life for not just us as individuals, but life as a planet, as a collective that includes the living earth and all of our, plant, animal, insect, mineral, bacterial, microbe, everything, everybody, not just other humans, but like the earth, the living earth.
Yeah. And, it's really interesting because I think so many of us are drawn to experience sacred places, right? Sacred places in nature or places that have a long, long history of being, important, whether in a religious context or a spiritual context. And I think what we're really feeling is that unbroken lineage and that unbroken tradition of working with the spirits of a place. And so we go to these places because it's palpable and we feel it and we're changed by it, right? Like how many people have, visited some of these sacred places and say, my life changed, or I received, really healing messages or experiences while I was there. And that's what's possible. But I think we forget that could be created anywhere. You don't have to go to these other places to do it. It's just a really great example of like, oh, this is what a place feels like when there's years and years and years or generations and generations of partnership in this way. And so if we can go back to these places where, and a lot of times that's what I come across as spirits that are just kind of, in some cases, you could say hiding. In a lot of cases, they're just minding their own business, right? Like they're just not even trying to engage with humans because humans haven't tried to engage with them for so long. And so a lot of times the first messages that people tell me they get all the time when they talk to a tree or, a mountain or whatever is that energy saying, oh my gosh, nobody has noticed us or talked to us for so long. Hello. They're just so excited. And so I think, it's a great example to think about, if you have had an experience in a sacred place, how can you bring that energy and how can you share that energy to help the spirits where you live remember that those were the relationships that humans always had with the earth.
Love that. Oh, this is cool. I'm really excited for our workshop too, because we'll be getting into the like specifics and dynamics, like how does one actually begin doing this, or how does one even like move past their doubt? I imagine we'll be touching on some of that. And and I in the beginning you mentioned like sometimes you even doubt it, and like I want to say sometimes I doubt it too. And I think being able to gather together and share our stories of how these moments do show up to us, these mystical moments that maybe are really simple and not even like flashy or loud, but maybe super subtle, but are definitely tapping from the other world and speaking to that's why connection and community and gathering together is so important, because that helps us see that we're not alone, like you said earlier, and to build some of that trust muscle around like, oh, what am I experiencing? This is that, and being able to recognize what's happening. Like, this is so common. I see this in people so often of like, it's already happening and they don't know how to recognize it. And like you said, like they get to a place and they don't know what to do once they're there. So like, I think just a couple little pieces in place can open up a whole new world for people.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. And it's actually why I love doing practice sessions, with groups where, we can all connect into the same place together and then share our experiences afterwards, which I think before people have done it, right, they always feel nervous, like, well, I don't want to share, which I never make anybody share that doesn't want to share. But they're very nervous about, sharing what they did or didn't get. And there will always be people who say, I didn't get anything, right? Nothing happened, right? And then as people are sharing and as they're hearing what happened, they're like, well, actually, I did see that particular color, particular structure, whatever. I did kind of I felt that same sick to my stomach feeling when I was there that 3 or 4 other people felt, And so that really is helpful in, like you say, building that trust muscle and feeling, overcoming, I think, the 2 main issues we have. And, one is just not trusting the information that we're getting or thinking that we're getting anything. And then the other being, like, well, I'm just making this all up if I am getting it. And so having those shared experiences in community, and we will do that in the workshop, is I'll guide you through group meditation to tune into a place, and then we'll share our experiences. And so it's just it's a great way to just improve our skills and learn to trust ourselves.
Love that. So I think that we've covered a lot of the kind of main points that I wanted to make sure that we, because we had, just full disclosure, we recorded a podcast episode and the night we had no plans for a workshop or anything. And then I was like, let's, we talked and we were like, let's do a workshop. So kind of why we're coming in to fill in some gaps here for folks so they can see some context. Maybe this is calling to you, dear listener. And if it is, I definitely encourage you to come check it out. We're going to be having a lot of fun. And is there anything else that, Amy, that you think that we need to hit on that we didn't touch here today?
Oh, no, I'm also looking forward to the workshop, and thank you so much for inviting me. I can't wait to connect with everybody. And I think, some of the other things that we'll talk about that I do think comes up often in this experience is just some of the concerns and fears that we have about doing this work or about tapping into these energies, because a lot of people have had experiences, usually as children, where they were more tapped into this energy field and had some kind of scary experience or experience that you just didn't understand, and no one around you could explain to you.
Even as adults, I hear so many people who are dealing with like a weird energy where they live or in the land. And we kind of touch on some of that of like, it might be a portal or something in our other episode, but like, this is like, that experience that us as little kids, like, I know I had that. I lived in an actual haunted house and had that experience. And I wish I knew these skills as a kid. And I wish my mom knew them as an adult to like help support me, who was always like, Mom, our house is haunted. And she just was like, no, it's not, until later. Oh my God. I think I've told this story, but like later when we moved out, she was like, actually someone did kill themselves in your room, Natalie. And I was like, what? So like, it was very validating, but it was like, this is like a great example of why we need this kind of work, is like, it's actually impacting and affecting us on so many levels, from children to adults. So little tangent there. Thank you. Keep going.
Yes. No. And that's a perfect example. Is there are a lot of parents who are trying to parent children who are seeing these things and having these experiences in their home or at school or whatnot. And so understanding all of that is really helpful, and really just understanding like the whole network of who are these spirits of the land, who else might be hanging around, how do you discern between these different energies, and what do you need to do to protect your energy and feel safe. And I think in going through that process, it's just so empowering. We have all grown up in a culture where we've been scared, either by, movies or TV or religion or whatever experiences we've had, that either we're interacting, it's bad if we interact with these energies at all, or something horrible will happen to us, or, our soul, or whatever the case may be, whatever stories we were told growing up, or that we're not in control, and that it's this whole, everything about the spirit world is out of our control. And, if we live in a haunted house, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to deal with these energies, or we might have to move out if there's something too bad. And once you have the opportunity to understand what all the pieces are, how they work, and actually how much power you have as a human being incarnated in a body, and how you don't have to allow anything in your house that you don't want there, it's really empowering and helpful for people of like, oh, I can get my house calm. I can clear this space. I can have a sanctuary that is calm and quiet and only has the kind of energy in it that I want and that I allow. And so, I think just having that experience and being able to talk through those things is really, really helpful for a lot of us that are on this journey.
100,000%. Love it. And so, of course, we're going to be doing this workshop, and people can come kind of dip their toes in and get a taste. And if someone's like, wow, I need this now. Like, you actually have an entire training people can do. Do you want to just share a little bit about that and where people can find that?
Yeah, I offer the Earth Tenders Academy, which is a full program. It's open all the time. So whenever the time is right for you, you can jump in and join it. And it's delivered as a private podcast. So it's really nice that you get the link, it goes into your phone. You can listen to it while you're out on walks, or while you're driving, or doing dishes, or whatever you want to do. But it really walks you through kind of from the beginning of just some of the things I've talked about, understanding how vibration and frequency works, understanding how to protect yourself and how to, clear your house, and really a lot of basic energy work topics that are specific to your house and the land and that type of thing. But then we really go into all kinds of fun esoteric topics that are all really helpful to understand, because they come up when you connect with the land, like how do time and different timelines work, and how they might overlap in a different place, and like what are portals, and how do they work, and how do I open them or close them or move them, and all of these different kind of topics. And then really what we build up to is how to do these like property readings and healings, and whether that's just for your own purposes and you just want to know how to do this in service of the earth, or it's something that you want to offer as a service. We go through the whole thing, and then we join together. You can do it at your own pace, whatever speed you want to work through, but we get together twice a month. And once we do a practice reading, like we're going to do in the training, and we share all of our experiences so you can build your skills. And the other live call is just a office hours Q&A where you can come hang out and ask questions and chat. And so that is the Earth Tenders Academy. I would love to have anybody who just feels like the energies of the earth are really calling to them.
Beautiful. And of course, that's linked in the show notes. And awesome. So amazing. And thank you so much for coming back on for a little bonus exploration into connecting with and healing with the land and spirits. And yeah, I cannot wait for our workshop.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you and everybody else at the workshop.
All the roads are windy.
Listen to over 200 free Earthspeak podcast episodes on your favorite podcast app, and visit earthspeak.love to learn about our collective community and workshops.